So, are you guys more into single player games or multiplayer? Now, in my past videos, I've had tackle a bit of this topic, but I decided to make a video that just focuses on this subject primarily. So, what I'm going to do is give you guys my takes on what I like about each of the modes and my dislikes, of course. Now, I got into single player as my first, true experience of gaming. I played Doom, and I experienced that game by killing monsters rather than actual players with the same player model as me. It was a great moment for me to experience that game at a younger age, and I loved it a lot. When I think of those moments I had with Doom compared to other games that isn't Doom, it's really great that these single-player driven games generally make it immersive. It's nice to have like a story to understand of what your goals or roles for a character, or just to be able, to feel like you're in this world. I mean, Doom, it's not too believable from a realistic standpoint, like everyone's dead, it's up to you to save the world, but if you kind of, but it's kind of, gives you that imaginative world you're in, and I do feel like it makes it very immersive, even though the game's storyline is not really that reasonable, if you would say. Another thing I love about single-player games is there's really no extra qualifications you need to go through. Most of these games, you can enjoy it very well with whatever you have at that moment. You don't need like a high-end controller or some sort of expensive headset that gives you sound advantages. It's always designed for like everyone, and I think that's really great because not everyone's is going to have a lot of money or to get that optimized experience. Now, for one more thing is the feeling of satisfaction, really. Every game got their own way to really please you in their own level of enjoyment, but from the games I played, I always like to feel like, a super soldier or a one-man army, and let's just admit, man, it really does feel good if you're in a specific world and the game literally depends on you. It makes you feel like a hero, really, and when you play it from start to finish in a lengthy experience, it feels good. Like in Doom, you'll feel like, you just killed an entire army of monsters if you finish it on ultra violence. So those are some good things I can say for single player experiences. Here's the dislikes. I sometimes just don't like how game designers, try to make games stupidly confusing at times. Like, man, dude, I hate getting lost, and it seems like when I get lost, it's always like an objective type of thing. Like, it gives you a simple objective, but once I start playing the game, I realize there's a lot more to this objective, and it does make it frustrating at times to figure things out, because I do believe playing video games is a learning experience, but sometimes game designers just don't do a good job at, teaching the player. I'm not talking about, giving me a tutorial. I'm talking about, how every level you play, there's, some sort of thing that you can learn, like a mechanic or an idea, and you will need that to advance to the next level, but I feel like some designers just don't follow this philosophy that well at times. My last complaint is unfair AI advantage. I hate when AI has such an inhuman reaction time or something that just feels cheap and unfair for skill level selection. It really does make the game annoying, and these type of moments do throw me out of immersion, and it just makes me don't want to play it, really. A good example is the Jackal Sniper in Halo 2. He is retardedly annoying to fight on legendary difficulty, and that's really one of the things that just feels unfair and not good gameplay design overall. Now for multiplayer. So for the good things about it, I love owning players. There's a different satisfaction when you own a human player compared to AI. But I feel like it's probably more personal because everyone, that plays these games, these online games are human beings. So, it kind of gives you that feeling of dominance, really. I guess I love taking out 5 dudes at the same time in Call of Duty. It feels really good, and I think that's why I keep playing Call of Duty, because I, want to have those moments again by playing the game, because it's the only way I'm going to get those moments if you think about it. And to be honest, that's really the only good thing I can think of for the positive sides for multiplayer. So let's start off the negatives. I hate how players can spend more money on accessories like headsets or better internet connection to really get a huge advantage over players. Like in Call of Duty, I feel like many people who play, these games a lot generally have a faster internet than mine, and it's very frustrating when people have like a good, amount of seconds ahead of you, and it does feel unplayable at times if you don't have the top of the line connection. I also hate headsets, dude. I mean, it's almost impossible to fight someone good with those things because they allow you to hear the game's sound effects so well, and sound is very important for multiplayer. You need to hear like, what weapon they're using or power up they picked up. Another thing is hackers. Let's admit it, when you play, a single player game, you're never going to encounter any of that nonsense. But for multiplayer, it is possible, and it will always be possible, unfortunately. I also hate how, like, if developers don't realize this weapon is overpowered, people are going to abuse it, and it can be a problem. The word overpowered is never a good sign for good players, but for bad players, they'll like it because they want to feel like they're good at the game, and that can definitely be a problem. Last but not least is there's really no sort of immersion whatsoever. I know like Halo 4 tried to build somewhat of a story with the multiplayer, like a combat simulation for the Spartans, but let's be honest here. That's nothing compared to like writing an actual story with a 3-act structure built upon. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Overall, I prefer single player games because I feel like there's less of a hassle I have to deal with and not as much BS too, but I do like multiplayer. I think, both modes are great overall. So share me some of your guys' thoughts and tell me why you prefer, this mode over the other mode.